Hello YouTube friends, welcome to the Red Parrot channel. I am your host, Mary Ellen. I'm so glad you're here and I am so glad to see you. I really am, because I want to talk at great length, I think, about something that I want to use, call Textile Thursday. I also want to go through Thrifty Connects, which is sponsored by Kim at Images by Kim, and Thrifty Thursday, which is hosted by Sherry at Turquoise Dreaming. I have no idea if anybody is using this hashtag. This is in part so that I stay out of thrift stores and talk about something that I have a great passion about, and that is textiles. So we'll see how we get on. I am trying to sort of replace thrift store hauls with talking about textiles so that I have something to do on Thursdays. Anyways, that's my idea. So I successful so far. I have not been in any thrift stores. I did go to the dollar store and I was able to find feathers. This is a stamp set, and it's layered so that I think you put various colors down to be able to create a nice layer. And I like these three feathers. I enjoy birds as a theme, and I think they will go lovely with some of the other things. So that's that. I needed, air quotes needed, to get some more Easter egg pellets. And let us take a moment and look at the cover of this. These are gnomes. These are rabbit gnomes. There's also Christmas gnomes, Valentine's gnomes. I wouldn't put it past them to do all of the holiday gnomes. And I don't know when gnomes became a ubiquitous holiday item theme. I just don't. Okay. But there's gnomes everywhere. And so let's see what's in here. Oh dear. Oh, we've got pictures of gnomes. Okay. So this is the thing that I most want. So that's yellow, red. I'm gonna go, that's green. That's probably like a turquoise blue, and I think that one is a purple. So I wanted to do some more of this dyeing because I was quite satisfied with how the paper dyeing came out last time, but I want to do some envelopes. So this is, if you're using an Easter egg, these are dots and gnome egg stand. So I think this is, oh, okay, so you punch this out and then this is the belly. But we have gnome pictures, oops. And we also have gnome home egg stands. So there we are. I just think it's really weird that gnomes are part of Easter. Gnomes are part of Valentine's Day. I can sort of see the Christmas. And I wonder how that happened. Like, where in the industry did this kind of decision get made that gnomes were now the new thing? But anyways, gnomes are now the new thing. Okay, so I watched, it's a long path for me from where I started to this next item. I'm gonna put it in front so we can see it. And this is what is called a chindi. I'll spell it out for you. C-H-I-N-D-I, rug. Chindi is an Indian word for scraps, among other things, bits, lowly sort of discards. You may recognize these as a decorative item. This is a rug. Chindi rug, tapas chindi, it's the French. And what they do is they take pieces of sari scraps from the textile industry, and then they weave them. There are a lot of, let's call them scrappy makes that happen in India, and part of the rabbit hole was me getting into two types of quilting. One called a chindi or a chindi quilt, and the other called a kantha quilt. And YouTube realized that I was interested in that part of the world and that kind of making, and so it suggested chindi. And I watched, I think her name, I don't know what her name is, but her channel is New England Junk Journals, if I'm not mistaken. And she was taking apart a chindi rug, and exactly like this one. And she was saying, well, you take it apart, and just like this, you take it apart. Comes apart very easily because it's just a simple weave. Just comme ça. And what you're left with is a lovely scrap of sari, which, if you're a junk journaler, you absolutely know that this can be a beautiful piece of scrap for something. It can be a tie, it can be the binding of in spines. You know all the things that we can use this for. This rug cost me $5. $5. And you get all of this. So this is half the rug. I stopped after half because I realized that I was probably going to be talking about it, and I wanted to have the original rug here to demonstrate. And then you get this, and the cost interested me. Like $5 is an interesting value for a thing. And the reason why I was interested in it, because things get manufactured, they get made. A machine made this, a machine made this, a machine made this. All of the things that we have, machines make them. And when you have a machine making something, you can get economies of scale. This is weaving. There's people's hands that are involved in this. And when people do it, you have more time. And so it started to interest me. It's like, well, how can this be economically viable? And then I went, like I say, down this huge rabbit hole of trying to understand textile industry and how things get made and so on and so forth. And the way that it gets made is, or at least the way it is, I guess, economical, is that these are all scraps, so they are no longer useful to anyone else. So they're making this from a scrap. This is fairly low quality cotton, and the people who are making it are extremely poor. And that's, the other, I guess, elephant in the room when we're looking at textiles and things that get made offshore, and how are they affordable for North Americans. They're affordable because the people that are making them get our literal pennies to make stuff. So that economic lesson aside, we've got these. One of the recommendations that the woman said on the YouTube channel was to wash them. And this rug is very, very dusty. You can't really tell, but you can probably smell. If this was smell-o-vision, you would be able to smell that this is it. Let's call it a little. It smells dusty. That's what it smells like. It's just slightly, not in an offensive way. So I decided to wash the bits that I had taken off, and we will do, what do they call them, a Blue Peter moment. And here is the other stuff that I was able to wash. This was the first piece that I took off. I thought, oh, I'll just do a little end. And I washed it, and it was very, very dark. I don't have anything that's unwashed of this color. It took me several rinses to get all of the dust off. And I couldn't understand why why it could be this dusty, because I had a North American mindset of how the fabric was purchased, bought, stored, and then used in the manufacturing process. We here have, you know, buildings with codes and all that kind of stuff. And YouTube is great because it allows you to have an actual picture of people doing things. And one of the things that it allowed was to see how some of this gets stored and made. Didn't get to see much chindi, but I was able to see other like fabrics being made, and they are stored outside, and they are stored in the dust, and they are transported in huge bales on the back of a bicycle. So of course this is the fabric is getting dusty, but to wash something is nothing for us. We do ridiculous amounts of specific work. Paper dyeing is the best example. Fussy cutting is another great example, where we're just doing very, very time-consuming things to get a journal. So what's a little pulling apart a carpet and then doing a wash? So highly recommend. And this is the kind of different fabrics that were in that rug. So I got half of it pulled apart, and then let's pull one, maybe this one, I don't know, something that you can see. Let's do the purple one. We've been introduced to the purple one, so let's keep going on this one. So as a weaver, so I weave. I have a rigid heddle loom, and I'm currently in the process of making something. And if I get it off the darn loom, I will be able to do other kinds of weaving, which I am dying to do. I have a hank of beautiful art yarn from Cindy at Studio Lou that I am dying to weave, but I can't weave because there's something on my loom, etc., etc. And it all sort of cascades and goes horribly wrong from there. This is probably not a good example. It is not. Okay, never mind. Put that aside. So I weave, and I am taking apart something that has been woven. So I started to get really interested in, well, how does that work? I don't understand how that works. I wanted to understand the textile that they were using. So in weaving, let's do the back here. In weaving, you have sort of the loom here, and you're sort of here. This is sort of your eyesight, the direction of the loom. And then what ends up happening is you have all of these, you thread this, and then the weaver puts in the back and forth. These lines are called the warp. And then the line, and then the pieces going this way are called the weft. So I wanted to know the warp. Come back here. The warp is clearly these threads. So they have put these threads down on a loom, and then they are using this as the weft, the chindi fabric, the cast off sari. But I wanted to understand it better. So again, you know, you got to take it apart to understand it. And does this one work? Ah, yes, it does. Okay. So they have, there, that's the way it goes. Okay. So they got a large piece of sari, about this large, and then they very specifically, so this is considered a scrap. They bought it as a scrap. Oh my gosh, I'm stuck. I'm stuck on this on the thread. There we are. They've got this as a lovely piece of textile, and they could have taken that and put the whole thing as a single line in the weaving, but they didn't. So what they did was they tore this piece up to the edge, and then they tore this again down to the bottom edge, and they tore it the third time for this edge. So they basically increased the amount of weft material by 3. So this is one long string. They're very carefully are not taking it apart, but they certainly are creating this long extension. So that really interested me, and that is another sort of understanding of the economy that they are using, and also what is happening, how they are receiving the materials from their perspective, because I think that the weavers of the chindi rugs are doing this tearing, or they're using that as part of the prep of the fabric. Not done with rabbit holes. Using a lot of my YouTube time searching for chindi and chindi information, and there was probably about a year ago, this was the fashion in some of the junk journaler quarters, to buy a chindi rug and then undo it, wash it, and then you have all of these beautiful fabrics. And you can buy them on Amazon, you can buy them on Etsy, you can go to the dollar store like I can, Walmart, and there's a bunch of other American stores that we don't have here in Canada where you can buy these kinds of carpets and take them apart, and then literally Bob is your uncle, and you suddenly have pieces of fabric that are perfect, that, you know, this is made for the junk journaling community. Beautiful little scraps of fabric that we can use for all of the things that we make. Covers, tags, you know, ties at the end, bindings for journals, the whole thing. And one of the things that I came across was somebody that was talking about not all chindis are made the same. And I had this amount of information about the one chindi that I bought and half deconstructed and understood. I'm starting to gather an understanding of this textile, how it's made, and understanding, let us be absolutely clear, it is maybe 3 hours on the internet. So I am by no means talking about this as if I am an expert or a senior researcher. I am a YouTube researcher with 3 hours, but I do have a lot of textile experience. I'm a weaver, I'm a sewist, I'm an embroiderer, I'm a needleworker. I understand textiles and I understand using them and so on and so forth. So I have that at least as my experience and understanding. So one of the things that somebody talked about was the width. I mean, look at how this is, you know, it's 2 inches? It's 2 inches. This piece here is probably more like 3, 6 to 10. Okay, that's about 4 inches. Perfectly fine, not a problem. She also had some things to say, and this is probably when she was purchasing them without seeing them in the store. Like I'm going to order it online and the vendor is just going to give me whatever, as opposed to going into a store and then saying, okay, of all of these, I want that one. So back to this for a minute. And you can see all of the different colors. So there's red, there's greens, there's some light colors, there's some beautiful browns. This is beautiful multicolored, and you can understand, you may not know the specifics of what it's going to look like when you undo it, but you will know that there's going to be these color variations in it, and it is going to be satisfying in this general colorway. And what she was getting was a lot of black fabric, a lot of very, very dark fabric, and that made her dissatisfied. So I wanted to see if I could find another one. Now this was the only chindi that was in the dollar store that I bought in the first dollar store. There were other similar type carpets, but instead of this being fabric, these were threads. So they are going even more refined and more scrappy. So there's just threads that are here, and it makes a very, very thin carpet. But you can tell, I mean, you can look at the edge here and you can go, oh yes, that's 100% a piece of fabric that they have used. And you can visually distinguish the difference. In case you're interested, this is a 20-inch by 32-inch rug for $5. Where was I going with that? So yes, she was dissatisfied with the black, and I only had the one, and this was really dusty. Like I said, it would 2 or 3 passes, but I was interested now, and I wanted to see what else there was. So I went to a second dollar store. And because we have already figured out who I am as an individual, I went straight to the carpet section and went rooting around for these particular carpets to see if I could see if I just lucked out and I picked the only one, or did this dollar store have other chindi rugs? They had other chindi rugs. They had about 6. So what do? I take each rug and I put them on the floor and I start looking at the colors. And I wanted very specific colorways. And so first thing that I did was eliminate, and so she was right. There was a lot of very dark colors, which totally works if dark is the color that you're looking for. Fill your boots. She wasn't looking for black and I wasn't looking for black. I wanted to have vibrant colors. And so I'm going to keep this here because there's also important information that's still to be had. There's that. Where's the other? Oh, there's the other. Okay. And so I got this rug. This is very, very, oh, did I just hit you? I'm sorry. Didn't mean to do that. So this, very bright. Look at all these beautiful colors. Reds and oranges and bright greens and just, you know, neon pinks. I'm dying to get to that one. Some more information. So if you put this rug down, and then you put this rug down. So each of these would have been made by people. Human beings are making this. Different human beings made this versus made this. Possibly different companies. So you don't have field of vision, but the thickness of this is different than the thickness of this. And you might be able to see even just on the edge where there is very distinctly, this is thin, this is thick. And that's another thing that attracted me to this piece here. This was thicker. And I wanted to understand, well, what's the thickness of the material that this company or this person is making? and I picked off. I didn't cut it because I wanted to keep sort of the integrity, but if you wanted to actually get one of these and cut it, you just slice off the top and you peel it off just like that one did. So this is the fabric from this one. Comes out like this. Look at that. That is a massive amount of fabric. So this is very differently prepared than the other one was. If we took this and we put it to the first company, they would have torn it up to here and they would have torn it down to there and they would have gotten 3 times the amount. It would have been much less thick. And this then becomes sort of a more desirous carpet if you want something that has more fabric in it. And I wanted to have something that had more fabric. Now this one is plain. These ones were colored. Got pretty excited. Took a second one out. Also quite thick. Not as thick, but there is a lot of variability in these fabrics. And just like, look at the colors. They're just so beautiful. And I can tell-ish that there is going to be some amount of material patterning in it. So that green may have patterning in it. There is another one in here that may have some patterning in it. Even the gray that's going to come up next, you can sort of pull it apart and you can already see that there is visual interest in the piece. So I kind of want to go out and see if I can find a thick chindi that has got bright colors that have this kind of fabric in it. And purely for the sport, if nothing else, just for giving my brain an itch or scratching the itch that's in my brain. So that is chindis. Now, if you're going to deconstruct these, if you're going to buy one and get one, you can start one of 2 ways. I have seen people start at one end and just sort of clippity clip. I've seen people pull this apart and then just sort of carefully, you can get into the stitches there and cut it apart. The thing that you need to keep in mind is that there is one edge of this carpet. Is it this edge or this edge? There's one edge that has got that's this edge. So it has got a very fine stitching all the way down. And that stitching provides some stability for the overall carpet. Is it this end? Hang on. No, it's this end. So I need to find the thread. Blah, blah, blah. So this thread goes all the way down and keeps it stable. The other thing is that it has a very specific bunch of threads at the end, and that's sort of a weaving technique to make sure that the ends are stable. So you cut away, you're cutting and peeling. That's really all you're doing. And then this, you can see this doesn't come apart because it has got that little piece of stay stitching to keep it steady, but that comes out super easy. It's another large piece of beautiful orange, and then this is like beautiful, like grays. So the what else do I want to say about this? The card, where's the card? Card's on this one, I think. Yes. The card here says it's 100% cotton. Now, I believe that the thing that is 100% cotton is, remember, this is us. This is our loom. We have the warp threads here and the weft here. So the weft is going to be this. The warp is going to be this. I think this is cotton. I think this is the cotton. This material, if we had Filovision, where's the top? This is not cotton. It very much feels like it is some kind of man-made fiber. I have not done any burn tests to see the differences in cotton versus silk versus acrylic, polyester, whatever else. But I think that these are a mix of fibers, and this is not the cotton. They're not referring to this. They're referring to the warp threads. So if I go and I get another carpet, I will have absolute gobs, and that's a technical term, a G-O-B-S, gobs of, that was me being funny, of scraps of fabric. And then, so what do I do with this? I would, because this is, again, who I am as an individual, I would love to reweave it. And it, just to have the experience of warping my loom with something that is kind of cotton, and then actually making another chindi material. What I would do though is I would make it into a journal cover, or at least one. So because I don't have enough to do, because I am this slow at making the actual journals, the last thing I need to do is give myself another wackadoodle project like taking carpet. I am going to buy a carpet, I'm going to take it apart, wash the material, and then make a carpet out of it. That is possibly the best explanation for who I am as an individual and the way my mind works. I am just so insatiably curious and want very badly to understand how things work, and also how deeply and devotedly I love textiles. So I am going to stop here and I'm going to let everybody go. I hope this was informative and you enjoyed this sort of trip down the lane. Started off as Thrifty Canucks and Thrifty Thursday by Kim and Sherry, and it kind of ended up into Textile Thursday, and I hope you were able to get to the end and I was able to entertain and inform. That's all for now, I think. So thanks so much for watching. If you've made it this far, please comment, like, and subscribe for more wanderings down rabbit holes. And we will talk to you soon. Bye now.